So we start on time. Okay, we're ready to go.
Sounds good. We should probably start with the review from last session. Did you want to go ahead and do that, Alex?
Sure. Let me see. We did patience last week, right? I think that's what we did. So let me share my screen. All right. So last week we talked about patience and setting goals that we can achieve anything we want in life by being patient and also having some goals in there. Often we kind of think about, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, and then we get sidetracked and we forget what we wanted to do or what we wanted to get. So that's why it's quite important to write them down as what we want and come up with a plan. Often we also forget that getting the things that we want takes some planning. So these are some of the items from different participants that we put in here. Everybody had different things in there. I'm not sure how many actually have been done their own in their own online workbook. I've been a little disappointed that not many people are actually doing their assignments. I've seen only a few people that have been doing their assignments on a weekly basis. But then again, it's for your own benefit. It does not make any difference to us whether you do your assignments or not. Then we also talked about if you are in a family or a partnership, if it's a business partnership or any kind of partnership or a family, it's always good to set those goals. And the importance of that is so everyone in the partnership or family is supporting the idea while we have our individual things that we want, but as a family, it's good to know what everybody else wants and support that goal as well, because a lot of times it takes group effort to achieve our goals. Then we looked at we are always investing for our future in every stage of life from the beginning, from the conception in the mother's womb. We are always thinking about the next, even though that in the mother's womb we're not thinking, but the nature is designed so it's preparing us for life on earth. And then during our time on earth, we often we get so consumed with material stuff that we forget our ultimate goal, which is not thinking about, not being worried about our livelihood, food, water, clothing, shelter, and health, even though we have to plan for it. But that should not be our concentration on this world. So in the early years, our parents provide for us. We concentrate on getting education. And then in our adulthood lives, we start, our hope is to start doing some active income, which I think we can probably talk about it tonight. Active income, and then but moving toward passive income, because once we get to our golden years or the later years, our physical body cannot support us, cannot help us generate income. So that's the time we want to live a worry-free life. And then overall, for those who are into spiritual stuff, these are the 7 goals that are been set for us: to know God, to love God, to have faith in Him, do great deeds for others, forgetting our own selves and helping, thinking about other people, becoming detached from this world, again, because we come to this world without anything, and then we also leave without anything. And developing our character traits, storing treasures in heaven. And finally, thinking about how are we going to leave this world? Are we going to just be gone without any legacy, whether it's material legacy for our children or for others, or good works that we've done that people will have talked about us? So, first question in the chat, or you can open your microphone. I'm going to stop sharing. Who had a chance to share what we talked about last week with others? Hopefully outside of this group, outside of those who are not, somebody who's not participating in this group. Anybody? Anybody brave enough? Go ahead, Ken. Unmute yourself.
I was not feeling well last week, but one thing, I don't know if you're familiar with a diagram called the circle of life wheel. It's a circle divided into the 8 major areas of life.
Okay.
And what you do is they got numbers like 1 through 10 on each line, like each section of the circle and you put what percentage of your time in your life you're devoting to that area. And then you connect the dots and it gives you like a wheel, and it's not usually smooth because you're spending different amounts of time in different areas. I would suggest maybe possibly consider that using that in future sessions, because it kind of gets this whole idea of balance and moderation and all these concepts that we're talking about. It for people that are visual learners, I think it would be a nice tool to have.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I think that would go really well with tonight's lesson plan.
I actually emailed you a copy of the wheel of life.
All right, cool. We'll look into it. Thank you so much, Ken.
Sure.
All right, Jade, it's all yours.
All right. I was just going to say that Ken's comment ties directly in with the lesson of what we're going to be talking about today, about moderation and finding balance in all different areas of life. And I don't know how many of those that are on that have already done the activities for today, but we will be engaging back and forth and kind of sharing with each other some of the responses so that we can see what moderation looks like for those of us that have never looked at how our life looks like in balance, or how does it look like when it's not in balance. And so with that, we will go ahead and start. I will share my screen so we can talk a little bit about moderation before going into the first activity. And I see that Daniel has also joined us. Welcome, Daniel. All right. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. So Daniel, can you actually read for us what it says right here, starting with moderation is creating?
Moderation is creating a healthy balance in your life between work and play, rest and exercise. You don't overdo or get swept away by the things you like. You use self-discipline to take charge of your life and time.
Great, thank you for doing that. So in the chat, I kind of want to open it up and see, what does moderation mean to you in your own words, or maybe give an example of moderation so that we can share and have a discussion back and forth. I know for me, moderation is something that I learned from a very young age. It was always told to me, or taught to me, I should say, about not doing too much of any one thing. Too much of anything was never good. So always trying to find that balance. And over time throughout life, you will start to see that different areas and parts of your life might end up not being in balance because you spend more time in that particular area. And the very first activity that we're going to be doing is seeing what that might look like. But before we get into that activity, I want to see, for those of you that are on, what does moderation mean to you? You can go ahead and either put that in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and share with us by talking to us. So I want to get a couple of people's opinions.
Jade, one question that I always love to ask in class is that, what is that one thing you would like to do if there were no parents around, no teachers, nothing? So it's like, that's another way of saying that. What is that one thing? I'm sure everyone has a thing that if we didn't have to worry about.
Time was not an issue, right,
exactly.
Alex?
Yeah.
Time not an issue. What would you do? What would you spend your time doing if you didn't have to worry about a clock or having to make sure that you were only spending a certain amount of time on things? There's only 24 hours in a day, right? What would you spend your time doing if time was not an issue? It's a good way to phrase it.
I think we got to start calling on people.
Well, I was first going to call on Thomas. Thomas, are you there with us?
Yeah.
What is, or I guess I would ask you, based off of the question that we just asked, if time was not an issue, what would you choose to spend your time doing? What is one thing that you would do?
I'm not sure. Maybe shopping this thing. I'm not sure either.
You said you're not sure, and then I couldn't hear what you said after that.
Maybe shopping list.
Oh, doing a shopping list?
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna do the shopping list, and that's the next activity that we'll be doing. We're not quite there yet, but just wanted to try and have a discussion about what it is that you would do if time wasn't an issue.
I don't know what it's, I remember that.
Okay, no worries. I see Daniel has put in the chat, moderation means that you have control of your life and not to overdo things you like. For example, video games. Maybe can you unmute yourself and share a little bit more what you mean by your example of video games, Daniel?
So like when you play video games, you'll probably get attached to it, and video games is like a very popular way of just passing time. So you might think just like 5 minutes passed when it's like already 1 hour.
Yeah, when you're doing something that you enjoy, it's easy to lose track of time, right? So that
Reading a book.
What did you say?
Like reading a book.
Like reading a book. That's a great example. So thank you for sharing that in the chat. With that, I will go into our first activity. When we do this in the classroom, we have these balance scales that we use, where we have the students put different activities that they do in their free time. So anytime outside of class, and for those adults that are on, this would be outside of work. How are you spending your free time, right? So anytime that's not used in school or not used at work, what are you doing with that time? And Paula has said in the chat, thank you, it means self-discipline. Yes, it requires a discipline, right? We can't just think that our lives are just automatically going to be in balance without doing discipline, without using discipline to make sure that we are using certain parts of, or dividing certain parts of our day and making sure we get certain things done, but also making sure that we're also taking times for ourselves. So in this activity, I've adapted a little bit of what we do in the classroom for the virtual setting so that you guys could see the visual aspect, going back to kind of Ken's comment earlier about visually being able to see what balance looks like, right? And so I was saying in the classrooms, we normally use a scale, but I have a scale for us to look at. So I'm just going to tilt my camera down so you guys can see it. All right, can everybody see this scale here on the screen?
Yep.
Give me a thumbs up or,
Yep,
okay,
we
great.
can see it, sorry.
All right, and so right now, does this scale look like it is even? If you think that the scale looks even, tell me yes in the chat, so that we can make sure we're all starting off on the same page. Okay, I see Thomas says yes. All right. If you don't think it's even, you can go ahead and put no in the chat if you don't feel like it is balanced. Okay, Jackie is saying yes, very good. Before I miss Ken's comment, Ken wanted to include in here, traveling to major sports stadiums and work, my financial coaching business, moderation is a balance in all areas of life, career, social, family, spiritual, recreational, nutritional, self-development, and educational. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that go into our lives, and we have to try and balance those things. So right now with this activity, I'm seeing everyone is seeing that this scale is balanced right now. We're going to see what happens when we start adding what some of those activities are that we do in our daily lives. So I have these blocks here, and these blocks are red. I'm going to try and put them in the camera,
Yep.
right? These blocks are red, and this is going to represent things that we do for fun, okay? And I also have a different color set of blocks. I have some black blocks here, and this is going to represent things that we do for work, right? Some of the responsibilities that we have to do. And so because we have a mixed group here, we have both youth and we have adults, we're going to have different things that we might do during our day that are going to be different if we are in our youth versus if we are adults. So I see Alex has already put in the chat. Thank you, Alex. What are things we do for fun, right? Daniel has already given us a great one. Daniel gave us an example of video games. Daniel, would you say, based off of the two different color blocks that I have, Is video games something that we do for fun, or that's something that we would consider work?
Fun.
For fun. So would that be a red block or a black block? Remember, the red blocks are the ones that were for fun. Say video games is a fun block. So I'm going to put one of the red blocks on for video games, right? And we already see that the scale has already moved a little bit. And I see in the chat, Jackie says watching TV and family, right? So Jackie, is that something that you would do for fun, or is that something that you would consider work?
For fun.
For fun, right? So that would also be a red block. So now we have two red blocks, two different activities that we are doing for fun. Is there anything else? Ken, what do you do for fun or for work? Maybe tell us an activity. I know you gave us some examples in the chat already. Let me try and go back and see. Self-development. Ken, would you consider that something you do for fun or for work?
I'm actually retired now, walk with a quad cane, so I got some physical limitations. I have cerebral palsy, but I consider self-development. I always enjoy learning and taking on new things. And that's one reason that I went into financial coaching, because I always enjoy leading people to help them lead to their self-improvement. Prior to breaking my leg 7 years ago, I was real big in golf, bowling, and playing softball, but my health does not allow me to do that anymore.
Okay. So I think based off of the description that you said, I think that might be considered maybe a work block, right? Even though sometimes we find enjoyment in the things that we do for fun, right? If we're really blessed, we really get to enjoy the work that we do, and we don't really can see it as work. So I'm going to go ahead and put a black block for self-development on our scale. So in the chat, or either unmute yourself, can you tell me now, do you think that our scale is in balance? Is it even? Based off of some of the activities that we've put on so far, is our scale in balance or is it out of balance? So Jackie says no, our scale is not in balance. Very good. Any other people want to contribute? Either put yes or no in the chat. If you think it's in balance, put yes. If you think it's out of balance, you can put no. Ken says out of balance, right? We can visually see that it's no longer even, right? And the scale is more on the things that we do for fun or the things that we do for work, right? If you think that it's tipped more in favor of the things that we do for fun, you can put fun in the chat. And if you think it's more tipped on the things that we do for work, you can put work in the chat.
Jade, can I call upon a couple of our youth that have been really quiet?
You can.
So Audrey, if you can unmute yourself and give us something that we can either do as fun. I know youth like to do a lot of fun stuff as well as adults, but what other activities, or Paula? And we want to hear from you guys too. You guys want to tell us other activities that you do, and whether they are for fun or whether they're for work or educational. It's not always work. Sometimes it could be educational too. Wow, everybody's quiet tonight.
Well, I know for the students that we have, right, they all should be doing, I know this year is a little bit different than usually because a lot of students are going to school virtually, but they still have classwork that they have to do, right? And they still have sometimes teachers assign homework. I know most teachers assign homework, but some teachers don't believe in homework these days, which is really interesting because that never used to be the case. All students used to have homework when I was growing up, but now I have some young youth that I know that tell me that they don't have homework. Their teacher doesn't give them homework. And I was like, oh, it must be nice. I don't know how that happens, but that sometimes happens these days. So I want to ask if we have classwork or homework to the youth that are on the call. Is that something that would be considered a red block that we do for fun, Or would that be a black block of something that we do for work? And I'll give you a hint, right? Classwork, homework, the answer is in the words.
And maybe we can also talk about social media, because I think that is taking a lot of our time too. Sometimes maybe too much.
Yeah, Daniel says, I couldn't hear anything. Okay,
I
I'm
can- I
not
can-
quite sure.
I can hear you fine, Jade.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yep, nope, you're okay. You're fine.
Okay. So yeah, so social media is something Alex just gave us as an example. That would be something that we do for fun. I know these days it's oftentimes people can spend a lot of time on social media and not even realize it. It's definitely become something that has become addictive to some people in society, and they could just end up spending hours on social media and they think that they're only spending a couple of minutes. And John in South Africa says, oh yes, LinkedIn and Twitter. Yes, those are great examples of social media. And it's something that in our society now, it's easy for people to spend large amounts of time and not even realize it. I'm also going to put a black block on for the classwork and homework that we talked about for youth, as well as for those adults that are on for work that you do. And see that our scale is now moving again and seeing what visually happens. And now, do we see that our scale is more in balance, or is it still out of balance? Put in the chat if you think. Oh, Daniel has also contributed to Facebook and Discord. I'm not familiar with Discord, but Facebook is another example of social media for sure. Daniel, do you want to unmute yourself and tell us what is Discord?
Discord is like this online.
Oh, I think, did he freeze? Oh, there we go.
Like, and they'll show their phone number and you can customize your name and stuff on it. And also you can also like text to them. It's like Facebook, and you can join like these type of groups.
I guess
Oh, okay. I've never heard of it before, but it seems
Yeah.
like that we have some other youth. Paula says in the chat, Discord is a messaging app. Okay. So it is an app that you can use on a device. I'm sure either like a phone or a tablet or something that you can use to message. So it could be an example of another social media platform, but it also could be something that you would just generally use for fun, right? We wouldn't consider that in the work category. We would consider that in the fun category. So if we spend more time doing things for fun, then our scale looks like this, right? It is out of balance and we spend a lot of time doing fun. Is that a good or a bad thing? In the chat, if you think that that is good, if we have more time that we spend doing things for fun, go ahead and put good in the chat. And if you think it's bad, go ahead and put bad. Thomas says it's a bad thing. Paula says it is unbalanced and it is bad. Danielle says Discord can also be used on a computer. Okay, so it could be used on a lot of different devices. Paula says things should be equal. Ken says it's bad, and Daniel says it's good and bad, right? There's no right answers to these. This is why we have these discussions. So it can be bad, but it also can be good. If we spend all of our time doing things for fun and we do not have enough time to do our responsibilities, things that we need to do for work, then yes, it can be bad. But I'm going to challenge you and say, what if we do the reverse and we spend all of our time on work and our scale is out of balance and it's tipped more in favor of spending more time working than we do for fun? Now, does that change any of your answers? Do you guys now think that that is a good thing, or do you think it's a bad thing, or do you think it's a mixture of both? If you think that it's good, go ahead and put good in the chat. If you think that it's bad, you can put bad in the chat. Or if you think it's a mixture of both, you can say a mixture of both. We were just trying to see, does it change your answer at all if it's now more time being spent on work than on time doing things that we do for fun. So Jackie says it really depends on who you are. Ken says it depends on the situation. And Thomas says sometimes good, it's pretty okay. Well, yes, you guys are all right? It definitely depends. But if we're spending all of our time on things that we're doing for work, it can be good because we are being productive, right? But if we do not have enough time to do things that we enjoy, to do things that are fun, it can be bad because it can also lead to being stressed out and not having good health. And we want to make sure that we are balancing our life to make sure that we're doing things that are not only our responsibilities, doing things that to get our work done, but we are also taking the time out to take breaks, right? And to take care of our bodies and to do things that we like to do for fun and enjoy. Paula says, I think work matters 60% and fun matters 40%. And Daniel says about 50-50, right? There's no specific recipe in terms of what the balance should look like, but your goal should be to find balance. Balance is going to look different for every person, right? It doesn't have to be exactly split like this, where you have equal on both sides, because every day is going to be different. Some days you might spend more time doing work than you do for fun, and then other days you might spend more time doing things for fun than you do for work. It just is going to depend. But the goal is to find a balance that is going to be healthy for you so that you're not spending all of your time doing things for work and you're not taking any time out to do things that you enjoy. And the same way, you're not spending all of your time doing things for fun and not taking time out to do things that you need to get done in terms of your responsibilities for work, right? John says in South Africa, work hard and play hard equals equilibrium. Yes, we're trying to find a balance. And that same balance, we also relate to our finances and money, right? So this is not just about how we spend our time and our daily lives and our activities that we're doing, but it also relates to money because we also try and find a balance in the decisions we make about money. Right, so the 4 categories that we're learning about, I'm going to go ahead and tilt the camera back up because we are done doing our visual with the scale. But the 4 categories that we do of save, invest, share, and spend, we also want to make sure that we're finding that same balance between those 4 categories, right? The same way we saw that the scale would be tipped in one direction if we were spending all of our time doing work, right? We could see that same way in our money in the way we make decisions. So if we're spending all of our money on things that we like to enjoy, that would be the save category, right? But we might not have money to take care of our responsibilities, like those life necessities. So food, water, clothing, shelter, right? But in the same way, if we're spending or if we're sharing all of our money, right? Say we're giving all of our money away, right? And that might also not be a good thing as well, because then we don't have money to take care of those responsibilities for ourselves and to live off of. So we want to make sure that just the same way we try and find a balance in the activities that we do throughout our day, that we also try and find that balance in the decisions that we make with our money. Daniel says, if you play and enjoy life work, you can enjoy life more and get income too. I definitely agree, Daniel, right? If your life is more in balance, then you will have more time to be able to get the things that you need to get done, to enjoy your time doing things that you like to do for fun as well. And that can also lead to more income, right? Because balance creates a more healthy lifestyle. And when people enjoy what they do, it can lead to more opportunities. So that is definitely something that is true. So the goal is going to always be to find a balance. There is no exact science to finding that balance, and it's going to look different for every person. But we like to do that activity because it's easy to see, oh no, that's not in balance, right? And oftentimes we don't really even think about how we're spending our time. And so that activity is really clear when you start looking at, okay, this is how I'm spending my free time. And then you put those things on the scale and it's like, whoa, I'm working too much, right? And I'm not spending enough time taking care of things that I like to do for myself or things that I like to do for fun. And that can lead to a very unhealthy lifestyle. And so we want to make sure that we are aware of that. And we can, once we become more aware, we can make adjustments so that we can try and reach our goals of finding more balance in life. It's not always easy, right? And it can look different in different parts of our lives. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and go into activity 2. In activity 2, we do a shopping list. So in the chat, I want to go ahead and ask another question to see how many of you create or use a shopping list when you go grocery shopping, right? If you use a shopping list when you go grocery shopping, go ahead and put that in the chat so that we can see, as well as if you don't use one, go ahead and put that. We want to see how many of you are using a shopping list. And for those of you that are youth, right, you might not be going grocery shopping yourself, but if you see a member of your family that uses a shopping list or that doesn't use one, you can go ahead and put that. So Jackie says that she uses a shopping list, and Daniel says not really. He doesn't really see people use shopping lists. And John in South Africa says he always uses a shopping list. I know that I try my best to use a shopping list, because when I go grocery shopping, let's ask this. Why do we use shopping lists, right? What can they do for us? Why is it that we use shopping lists? Go ahead and put that in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself and share with us. I want to see if I could call. Ken, are you still with us?
Jade, Jackie actually has filled in her shopping list. Maybe we can, if it's okay. Jackie, is it okay if we share your shopping list with everyone else? Okay, she says yes.
Okay.
Jade, do you want to do that, or I have her up on the screen if I can share?
If you already have hers up,
Yes.
then I will just go ahead and stop
Yeah.
sharing, and then you can go ahead and share. And while you're doing that, Paula's added in the chat. She doesn't use a shopping list. Paula doesn't use one, but her mom makes me write one. Why do you think your mom might make you do that, Paula? Go ahead and share with us about that. And John in South Africa says a shopping list mostly helps him budget so that he doesn't overspend, right? That is true, right? I know when I go grocery shopping, if I'm hungry and I don't have a list, I feel like it's very possible that I could way overbuy, because my stomach is telling me that I need all these things and that I'm really, really hungry. And then I don't have a list to say what it is that I actually am in there to buy. And so I just end up buying all of these things that I might not necessarily buy if I had a list, or if I wasn't hungry. So I try to make sure that 2 things: I have a shopping list when I go grocery shopping, and also that I am not hungry.
I actually have a third category. There's another reason I create a shopping list. Anybody wants to guess why?
To guess why Alex uses a shopping list. Jackie says in here to save time. I definitely think if you use shopping lists, that can save you a lot of time, because otherwise you can just kind of walk around the store aimlessly trying to figure out what it is that you need or you don't need.
If you rely on your memory too, you'll always forget something.
Yep. For me, especially going to Costco is like what not to buy, because we go in there and you see things, and I see a jar of mayonnaise, and of course in Costco jar of mayonnaise, it's not this little, it's this huge thing. So buy one and come home, and we already have 2 of them at home. It's like, okay, what am I going to do with these things? So seriously, I mean, a lot of times going out, it's like, okay, don't buy this thing, because I know I get enticed when we're outside, even though I really try to control. I don't have a problem with spending, but when I see things, and you should see our freezer, seriously, my wife always gives me so much hard time about the freezer. No matter when you open it up, things are just going to fall off. It's always full to the max.
I go shopping, and if there's something on an end cap that I have not had in a while that I like it, whether it's on my list or not, if it catches my eye, I haven't had it in a while, it's on an end cap, in my cart it goes.
Yeah, that ice cream is definitely in that category for me. If I ice cream usually probably is not on my list, but if I am in the store and I see ice cream, I usually end up buying it. So, because it always just is one of those things that it never fails, will always catch my eye. For those of us that are not familiar with Costco, Alex, I just wanted to share with us that Costco here in the United States is a large bulk item store. So it's a store that you go in where you can buy different goods, food, and not just food items, also household goods. And Costco, I think, has kind of a little bit of everything.
Yep.
But you can buy in mass quantities. So you're not just buying a small amount of an item, you're buying it in bulk. And the idea of the concept is that it will cost less if you buy in bulk than if you were to buy in a small amount. Yes, John, and South Africa says like wholesale, exactly like wholesale. So Jackie also says in the chat, one thing about this shopping list is my husband is a vegetarian. Okay, so let's get into Jackie's shopping list, which is on the screen now, and let's see. This activity is designed for you to think about what it is that you would put on a shopping list to feed not just yourself, but your whole family for about a week. And we usually try and make sure that we don't fill it up with a bunch of junk food, right? So we try and think about the items that we eat for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. And what it is that those items look like and how much of those items are we buying. And for the kids, it usually is a challenge because I know when we do this in the classrooms that kids will also often say, well, I eat spaghetti for dinner, right? And they'll put on their shopping list spaghetti, right? But you can go into a grocery store and already buy pre-made spaghetti, but oftentimes this shopping list is more about the ingredients that it takes to make spaghetti. So we want to focus on actually making the food and what is it going to take to prepare the different meals that we eat throughout our day. So on this shopping list, we have veggies. So what type of veggies does your family eat, Jackie?
All like cucumber,
Okay.
tomato, onion, and what else? Let's see, cabbage, and there is other Iranian vegetable I cannot name.
Okay, so lots of vegetables, which is good. Do you guys normally eat them raw or do you cook them?
I think.
Pardon?
I was just
Sorry,
asking, do
I
you guys
cannot hear.
normally eat the vegetables raw or do you cook them?
I cook.
Okay, so
Yeah.
lots of vegetables. That means that's a great thing. Her family is eating healthy, and those vegetables that she just listed, she normally cooks them. And
Yeah.
fruits, and she has chicken and fish on here. So how this shopping list is broken up is the items are on the left, and then the quantity is the next column. So
I think I made a mistake. Chicken and fish should be pound, not kg.
No,
oh, so in Canada, when you buy, it's the meat
No,
you're buying the meat
I
by
made a
pound.
mistake. We go pound, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever bought meat in Canada, so I wouldn't say, but I know our unit measurement within the United States is the only one that's usually off from the rest of the world. But in Canada, you're saying that when you buy chicken and fish, you're buying it by the pound?
Yes.
Okay, that's like it is how it is in the United States. Okay, so let's see what we have. So let's take the chicken and fish as an example. So she's saying that it should be a pound instead of a kilogram, so that if her family is only eating a pound of chicken or a pound of fish a week, that would be times by 2.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're saying it's about $5 per pound. So for
Because
2 pounds,
every
it would
time
be
I remember, I just go superstore, and we don't go Costco for meat because Costco's package is very big, so we cannot consume in even 3 months. So normally I go like superstore or local supermarket, and I got very small, like a very small package. It's like $5. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
shrimp, $5, chicken. Yeah.
So it might be a couple of pounds that's in there that you guys are buying in the bag, but it's about $5 per bag, so that's about $10. So the QTY column is for the quantity, and then the unit is how that particular item is measured. So on here we have some pounds, we have some bags, some kilograms. Butter is measured in sticks, which I think those sticks would probably be by like tablespoon or
But
cups.
I think cheese is just a one bag cheese. It's not 1 kg.
Oh, okay, a bag of cheese.
Yeah, it depends on how you buy it. Sometimes you buy it by the bag or
Yeah.
pound or kilo. So I was just changing those so you see how the table is done. I mean, the way you did it is fine too, but this is what we kind of intended, and this is how we teach the students the measurement units for different items.
Yeah, so the purpose of this is to really see like what are the items that you and your family are eating for the week and breaking down what those items are in terms of costs for each of the different units of measurement, and then how that multiplies out into the total. And oftentimes a lot of the students will find out that when they start kind of multiplying and adding it up, they see down at the bottom what their totals are, and then in the box underneath it, their available funds, that comes from the amount of money that they're putting into the spend column in their register book. So for the youth that are actually using their register book and putting in their allowance that they're getting and making decisions in the 4 categories each week, you can play around with this and see how much of that category and spend is going towards just what your family would be eating in a week. And oftentimes the students are often like shocked to see how much food costs, because they eat it, but they don't really relate it to the cost. They just go in the refrigerator and they eat what's in there. But they start to see this is how much the things that they're eating on the daily basis, how much those items cost, and where that money is coming from, and how it gets taken from the other categories that they're making decisions in from their allowance. So it's a great exercise to really see where that money is going, and to see how being organized with the shopping list can do a lot of the different things like you guys mentioned, right? To keep you organized in the stores, to keep you from overspending, to keep you more efficient in terms of the time and the amount of time that you're spending in the store. Alex, did you mention what the one thing was that you use shopping list? I know you posed the question, but I don't think you ever gave us the answer to that question of why you use a shopping list, or what a shopping list is good for you.
No, I did that. I said I have a column of what not to buy.
Oh, okay.
That's my thing. What not to buy.
What not to buy. Okay. Great. So is there anyone else that wanted to share maybe some things that they had on their shopping list that we didn't really talk about? John in South Africa says him and his family eats corn, so he has corn on his shopping list. Ken says cooked vegetables. What type of vegetables do you cook, Ken?
So while you're waiting for Ken, I just looked, and Flip is available in Canada also. So I'm gonna pull that up, show them how that works.
I'm boring when it comes to vegetables. All the broccoli and asparagus and all the good stuff. I don't eat much of it, but so I eat your standard, corn, peas, carrots. I'm a real big fan of carrots. A real big fan of potatoes. Not much for broccoli, not much for asparagus, and not much for cauliflower. So, and I'm so on squash.
Okay. Well, yeah, because we have people from all different places in the world, I thought it would be a little fun to share kind of what it is that is on each of our shopping lists, because it's going to be different, because we all eat different things and our families eat different things. Paula put in the chat candy. Candy is on her shopping list, which we didn't talk about. Yes, we try and avoid filling the shopping list with junk food, but candy is good to have on, because again, what are we learning about today? We're learning about moderation, and things in moderation is not necessarily bad. So having some items that are junk food on your on your grocery list does not mean that it's a bad thing. We just want to make sure that it's not full of all of those items and we don't have any healthy items. Okay. Was there anybody else that wanted to share any items either on the chat or by unmuting themselves? Otherwise, we will go into the third activity that we have.
Jade, actually, why don't we skip the third activity because we kind of did that.
Okay.
Let's do the flip, and then I want to go back to really talking about budgeting on the money side. So
Sounds good.
yeah, let's do that. So you see this flip here. This is an app or a website, and I just checked. I know it works definitely for US, but there is also a it does work for Canada too. I just checked it out. So it's a great way of looking at what is available in different supermarkets before you even go shopping and see what's on sale and not. We use this app quite often just to see what's out there, what is, because different things go on sale during different times of the different weeks or so. So it really helps. And we kind of have learned that things that we can buy in bulk or they don't expire and we don't need them every week, it's always good to buy them on sale. So I'm just putting like our zip code in there. So once I do that, it gives me the circular ads from all different kinds of stores. So for example, this is one of the stores. I can just go in there. It tells me for this week, this is what's on sale. Once it comes up, so you see here, it says for the period of February 17th through 23rd, that is what's on sale. Let me get rid of this. Don't need to use the app. So you can see what's going on. And like I said, I just checked this because we have many friends from Canada. It does work for Canada as well. I'm not sure how many of the stores, but they've been adding a lot of stores in there that you can use. So once you create your shopping list, of course, you don't want to go drive around the town, all around the town to find the best deal. But if there are different stores within your neighborhood that you can find a better price, this is one way of doing that. So just wanted to share that with everyone. Then I wanted to go back and looked at, because we talked about, Jay talked about creating a balance in our money. And she mentioned the 4 different areas where we can allocate our money. So let's have a little conversation about that. This is what we've been using. It kind of shows, I'm going to make this just a little larger. There we go. So this is what we've been encouraging our youth to do, is to do their allowance, record their allowance in the register book here, or you can download their apps that you can do. So these are basically on the top 4 here. These are things that we can do with our money. And as Jade was mentioning, there's life necessities, and there's a reason we put that on the first column, because first we have to live. There's no question about it. We still have to pay for food, for water, for clothing, for shelter to place and live in, and our health. And then after that, we decided once we secure our life necessities, it would be good to kind of think about other people. There are so many other people that need help. So in the chat, who are some of the other people that you maybe know of or have seen in your neighborhood or in your city that could use some help? So have you seen other people, especially now during the pandemic? It seems like a lot more. Have you seen, or do you know of people that could use some help? It could be financial help. It could be all kinds of different help. So if you know of any people, please put it in the chat. Then it's about the third thing that we can do with our money, and not only our money, but with a lot of different resources, is investing for our future. We were just talking about it once we did the review from last time, that we're always investing for our future. It's for college, for community, for creating a business. Paula says, I think everyone needs support and help in these hard times. That's true, Paula. But it's not only during these hard times. I mean, now I think we see more people that need help, but there are always people. I mean, we see them here in San Diego. We have so many people that don't have a place to live in, and they live on the side of the street. Now, San Diego is fairly warm. It does get cold from time to time, but it's not like Vancouver that you have to have a place to live in. Otherwise, you will probably freeze to death. So it's always good to think about others. And then,
Alex, when I have this discussion in the classroom, students will often talk about how when they come out of stores, they see people that might be asking for money because they are in need. And because we have people from different countries, a lot of times they will think that in the US, there's not homeless people like there is in certain other third world countries, but it exists here too. And I know that it has increased throughout the pandemic because of the situation that we are in. And I know here in San Diego specifically, we had other cities, their governments that were buying their homeless people tickets to come to San Diego and putting their homeless population in San Diego. So we saw our homeless population exponentially growing in a short period of time, which ended up causing us to have our local governments to have to file lawsuits against those other cities that were doing that because they were refusing to take care of their own homeless population and contributing to ours here.
yeah, I didn't know that. I know that we have a large homeless population. I didn't know that they were being sent here to San Diego just because our weather is nice. And actually, the city of San Diego, they decided to put all the homeless during the pandemic into the convention center because nothing else is happening. No meetings can be taking place in the convention center. That's where they are being housed currently. So what's going to happen after that? But that's interesting to know. So yeah, that's a great example. We should always be thinking because no matter where we live, they're always, and I like to refer to them as developing neighborhoods or developing countries that are not quite, they haven't developed materially as, let's say, rest of the world. But of course, one thing that we've all not been able to develop is spiritually. That it seems like most of us are spiritually broken, and we're not paying too much attention on that. So the last category that we can allocate our money for is as Jade was saying, things that we like to have because we always want things to have. And as you have seen, I'm just going to do another example in here. So in classrooms, we do only $20 in allowance. So today is February 19th, is that right? Yeah. But this one allows me to do more than, because it's open. So I'm going to do a little bit more on this shopping because we're expecting some friends and family to come. We're expecting some guests. So I'm going to put half of it in here. Sharing because the times are hard. Again, I'm going to allocate a little bit more in there. Investing, college is getting expensive, more and more expensive. So I'll do 5 and then I will do 10 in here. So you see that there is no magic, as Jade was saying, there is no magic of how much or how we do it. Everybody does it do it on their own. But the most important thing is to have this somewhere written. It's so important, especially developing this habit from young age, because a lot of adults don't keep track of their finances, and that's what gets them into trouble. Let me see, I have a long message from John. It says, it is so difficult, especially now, but how do we help everyone? I try help every person I see. Yesterday, I gave out fruit as I decided not to give cash, and it is not that we have much as well. I guess this is the reason why we need to look at literacy as this starts better outcomes for a person, I think, I hope. I definitely agree with you, John. I don't give out cash to anyone because we don't know what they use the cash for. But giving out food, giving out clothing, giving out a hug, well, not these days, not because of Corona, giving out smile, those things that we do. And I like to think that our greatest contribution to the society is educating what we are doing right now, providing this service at no cost, educating people so they don't end up in being a homeless. Of course, that's not the only reason that people become homeless, but I think we can really help by educating everyone. If each one of us can educate somebody else, I think we will be really in a great shape in here. This is the kind of like the budget sheet for our youth. I want to look at the budget sheet for our adults. Let me go back in here. So for our adults, we have been asking you to do, so far we've been asking you to complete your weekly income and expenses, this sheet. I'm not sure how many have done this actually or not. I know it's not an easy, Jake, is it an easy exercise or is it difficult?
No, this can be challenging because it requires you to really take all of the things that you are spending your money on and keep track of it. I know now we have apps that do this for us electronically that can make it a lot easier. But I think once you start putting it in, it becomes really easy. As anything, building a habit can be hard at first, but once you start kind of getting into that habit of every time you purchase something or every time you spend money on something, you record it, it just becomes kind of natural and it becomes really easy. And that goes for the students too. Like anytime we start something, it might be a little challenging in the beginning, but then once you get into that habit building that you've already established, then it becomes simple.
Yeah, so certain things are easy. We've talked about it, but I think it doesn't hurt to overemphasize. It's like our rent, mortgage, phone, internet, those are always fixed. They don't change every month. But then how much we buy food, it changes every week. Eating out, now it's kind of closed right now, but once it opens up again, a lot of people, especially those that work outside of home, and then they go out to buy lunch almost every day, those add up. Or for those of us who are addicted to Starbucks, every $5 or $6, it adds up. So
well, and as we talked about today, if we go to the grocery store without our shopping list or go to the grocery store hungry, that supermarket one could really be a lot higher in 1 month versus another month.
Yep, exactly. So please try doing this. We know that it's not easy, but please do so. Next time we'll talk more about apps. I want to finish up with the lesson plan for next week and assignments. So next week's lesson plan is about responsibility, the responsibilities that we have. So this is where we're going. All throughout our lives, we have responsibilities. There are only 2 times in our lives that we don't have absolutely any responsibility. And we'll leave the answer for next week. So think about what are the 2 times in our lives, 2 periods, it's not just a single time, 2 periods of our life that we have absolutely no responsibility. But then the rest of it, we are responsible for things, being chores, our homeworks, fixing bed, washing dishes, cooking, all of that stuff. So just like last week, we type in our, let's say, washing dishes. So if you're responsible for doing it, probably not every day of the week, but let's say you're responsible for washing dishes every other day, you put it under the column B. And column B stands for budgeting. So you're accepting that responsibility to do this. I love what Paula wrote in there. That's my favorite thing when we do this lesson plan. So if you don't have many, okay, many is different than none. I always love to ask the students who has absolutely no chores or responsibilities. And there's usually one that I can pick on. So Paula, I leave that up to you and your parents to talk about why is it that you don't have many responsibilities.
Well, I always get students that say that they say, I don't have any chores. And I'm like, must be nice, right? But they really start to think, I always challenge them to think about, okay, what is it that they see other members of their family doing around the house? And what is it that they could help with, right? So it gets them to think about what are the chores and responsibilities that other members of their family are doing and how they could help out in their family.
Yep. And it gets with the moderation too. So not just 1 or 2 people in the household, whether it's a family or a business, should be responsible for everything, because at the end it becomes backbreaking. And then as you complete your responsibilities, let's say on Sunday, if you wash dishes, then you say, actually, yes, I did. So There is one area, the B is for budgeting, that you accept the responsibility, and A for is actual, that you do it. Then we'll talk about this number 2, but I really would like you guys to do is think about what challenges should we feel responsible for those around us that we don't know. We talked about a little bit about them tonight, like people don't have place to live, don't have enough food, or don't get education, especially now with online education. What are some of the challenges that are in your immediate neighborhood? Don't think about world peace. That's too big to tackle at this point. Just kind of think about what is it that in your age right now you can think about, whatever that is. Some people, one of the simple things is like trash in the streets. This is kind of a common a lot of times when we do this. And then think about what solutions, what is it that you can, not what the government can do, not what other people can do, because by the time we get to them, it just takes a lot of energy. But what is it that I, as an individual, can do to help this situation? And that's it. That's the assignment for next week. Please make sure you talk to someone outside of the group here to share what you learned. And that's it. Jade, anything, any last minute thing or any question from anybody?
I don't have anything else to say, but if we do have any questions about the homework or about today's lesson, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask it. But it's great to see you guys again. And I think I will be seeing you guys in a future class, but it's great to see you guys. Thank you for the participation, everyone. And I hope you have a great weekend.
All right. Bye, everyone. Have a good night.